Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Vols Society Live on our OG night, the Wednesday night Vols Society Live. My name is David Morrison. I am the Vols Society lead analyst right here on the Vols Society Network. Thank you for tuning in so far tonight across our social media platforms, facebook.com/UT Vols Society, youtube.com/Vols Society, and on Twitter at Society Vol. And this is your show. You have control of the show. I mean, we'll talk some Tennessee football tonight. We're going to talk some Tennessee basketball. We're also going to pay tribute to Mike Leach. But if you have any comments or questions, make sure you leave a comment wherever you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Leave your comments or your questions because this is part of your show too. You are the reason why Ball Society grows leaps and bounds every day. We eclipse, I think our founder Brad's already in the chat room, gave us a big go Vols. I think he said that we eclipsed over 26,000 before I talked to him on the air tonight on Facebook and, of course, Twitter and YouTube, growing leaps and bounds each and every day. So thank you, guys. We send the I hope you tuned into our Facebook page tonight or checked it out before we went on. We gave the rundown tonight. We're going to start the show off paying tribute to Mike Leach. And we'll also talk about the Orange Bowl. We got some updates of who is opting out of the Orange Bowl for both Tennessee and Clemson. We will also talk about the transfer portal. Tennessee picked up a couple players in the transfer portal. I can't remember if I talked about them last week or not, but this has kind of happened recently, including a JUCO player. And then we'll also talk about Arian Carter. Big surprise today. Tennessee picked up Arian Carter, the linebacker from Smyrna, Tennessee. We'll talk about him. And just once again, kind of a recap of the 2023 Tennessee recruiting class. And then we will talk about Tennessee's big basketball game coming up on Saturday against Arizona. But first, we have to start the show on a somber note. But this is what the sports world is talking about. And, you know, in the SEC, it really pays, or I shouldn't say pay, it really hits close to home. And that is the Pirate Mike Leach. So Monday night, and I think most of the people got the news Tuesday morning, Mississippi State head coach Mike Leach passed away late Monday night. He was, I guess, rushed to the hospital Sunday night of the heart attack, was in critical condition right away, and wasn't looking very good for him. A lot of, thoughts and prayers went out for him, and unfortunately, the news that we didn't want to hear, unfortunately, did happen on that Monday night. But what can you say about Mike Leach that hasn't already been said in the last, I guess, almost 72 hours now? One of the greatest personalities, not only in college football, but in sports in general. College football does have a lot of characters and a lot of big-time personalities. But, we hadn't really seen somebody like a Mike Leach come down the pipe, not only in college football, but really in sports in general. Mike Leach was one of these coaches that, he would talk about football or talk about the game coming up on Saturday but at the same time, he also didn't like talking about it. He wanted to talk about stuff that he found interesting and, some of the greatest sound bites in college football in the last 22 years has come from the mouth and the mindset of Mike Leach. Just a great personality. Just is sorely going to be missed, especially, you got a lot of college football coaches that do a lot of coach speak and kind of walk the straight and narrow path. But, Mike Leach went to the beat of his own drummer, and it's just remarkable of, kind of the sound bites he's had. And at the same time, he was an innovator of the game today. You look at where college football is heading today from an on-field perspective. We've went, a transition from, quarterback under center, handing it to the running back or play action or whatever. He modified and evolved into a spread formation that you see a lot of teams run today, particularly Tennessee. Now, I have said in the past, Tennessee's not an air raid offense, but the foundation of that spread offense, that air raid formation, comes from the mind of Mike Leach. And Josh Heupel was part of Mike Leach's staff when he was at Oklahoma, and or actually, I take it back. He was his offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, because I forgot Heupel was a lot younger. So and just just hearing stories about Mike Leach, and it's just fascinating to kind of just go back and listen to past coaches and present coaches just talking about him. And I wrote down some numbers here and some factoids. He was he's had SEC ties before, back in the '90s, late '90s, when he was offensive coordinator at Kentucky under Hal Mumme, when they had Tim Couch, and Tim Couch became a number one draft pick in the NFL, uh, and then went on to be Josh Heupel's offensive coordinator at Texas Tech, or Texas, excuse me, at Oklahoma, and then ended up taking the Texas Tech job the next year. Went 84-43 at Texas Tech from the year 2000 2009. Then went to Washington State in 2012. Went 55-47. Stayed there to 2019, and then the last 3 seasons at Mississippi State, where he went 19-17. This year, Mississippi State went 8-4 this year. The last game for Mike Leach was the game on Thanksgiving night, when he upset Ole Miss when they were ranked in the top 25. Matter of fact, I totally forgot about this until I was looking it up during the shortened season in 2020, when the SEC played an all-conference schedule. Mike Leach's first game, he went down to LSU and beat the defending national champions at that time, the LSU Tigers, in his very first game at Mississippi State. So pretty remarkable accomplishment there. He was a 2-time National Coach of the Year, once at Texas Tech and the other at Washington State. Won 8 bowl games, and it's just a remarkable personality. And I think, what day was it? Monday, when the news, or well, Tuesday night or Tuesday morning, excuse me, when the news really broke. And I remember on my lunch break, I tuned into the SEC network, and they had Dari Noka and Alyssa Lang on there. And Alyssa Lang probably had one of the biggest sound bites this past season, when Mississippi State defeated Texas A&M. Like I said, Mike Leach would rather talk about anything but football or the game. Yeah, he may answer your question, but he wants to talk about something else. So Alyssa Lang knew that going in there. She talked about her wedding that she was planning soon, and just talking about, some advice as far as what to do. And Mike Lee says you need to get a elope, and talked about her fiance on air, and kind of peeling back the private life of her. But just going back and watching that recap of her talking about that interview, and her being emotional about just that little moment, which was kind of you know, a lighthearted conversation, and just how much it mean to her as a sideline reporter, was just pretty remarkable. And if you have a chance to go back and watch, that's a pretty cool clip. But Mike Leach, I kind of finishing up here. To me, Mike Leach was always, and I guess this is kind of an appropriate time, with the holidays coming up and chance to see our families. He's kind of like that, and I say this all respectfully, kind of like that crazy offbeat uncle that you only see once a year, but when you do see him, he has a lot of stories and a lot of catching, telling you just kind of random factoids and stuff. So he's kind of like uh, that wild uncle in your family. So, not only college football, but the sports world is really going to miss Mike Leach. Um, you know, as Ryan McGee said, the world's became less interesting since he's not here anymore. So rest in peace, Mike Leach. You will be missed, but thank you for the memories. All right, so we'll make this transition over to the Orange Bowl, second on our criteria. Tennessee getting ready to play the Orange Bowl on December the 30th against the Clemson Tigers, and we got some updates of who is opting out We'll start with Tennessee. We posted this on our Vol Society Facebook page, and no real big surprises. The first player to opt out for Tennessee was wide receiver Cedric Tillman. No big surprise from Tennessee fans' perspective. We kind of figured Tillman was going to opt out, especially being injured most of the season and in and out of the lineup. Uh, we were kind of expecting that, and then today, we found out Jalen Hyatt, the Bolitnikoff winner. By the way, we hadn't mentioned that on Vol Society Live. Congratulations to Jalen Hyatt winning the Bolitnikoff Award for the best wide receiver in the country. No surprise that he's going to opt out. You know, I'll say this. I don't really like players when they opt out because of course, I'm an old school college football fan. I still believe bowl games should be important and they should somewhat be taken seriously, especially you have an opportunity to go somewhere that you probably have never been before in your life, whether it's, down in Florida or Hawaii and I know there's some crazy bowl games like that's in random parts of the United States, but still these are great opportunities to relax and go out there and play a game, especially an opponent that, you don't see normally. But from a fan perspective, for me, as I've gotten used to these opt outs, while I wish the best players, or while I wish to see these players play, I do realize what's on the other side, and I do realize there's a lot risk in there. Everybody compares to what happened with Matt Corral last year in the Sugar Bowl, where he tore his ACL, and he was well, somewhat of a top quarterback draft pick, even though that quarterback class was very low last year. Um, the risk and reward in it, you know. But as a fan perspective, it's still going to be Tennessee and Clemson. It don't matter who plays it. As much as I like seeing these players play and cheer for these players, college football is still about the name on the jersey on the front, not the name on the jersey on the back. And whatever's going to happen with college football in the next 5 years may change, but I'm still all for the school pride. All right, and then as far as Clemson goes, a couple of guys have announced, helps out our offense out a little bit. Defensive end Miles Murphy from Clemson is opting out, and linebacker Tristan Simpson will also opt out. Two highly NFL draft picks for Clemson. Simpson injured his ankle in the ACC championship game. Matter of fact, re-injured his ankle. So not expect. Obviously, these guys will not be playing, but we'll see how this really looks. You have two Clemson defensive players out. Now, granted, they got a lot of depth. Meanwhile, you got your top two wide receivers at Tennessee, both out. Now, of course, I still trust Brew McCoy and Ramel Keaton and Squirrel White, but still, you also don't have Hendon Hooker anymore because we all know why. So this is going to be a very interesting Orange Bowl, to say the least. I go back and forth to figure out who I want to win. Obviously, I want to see Tennessee win. Let me clarify that. But as far as like trying to pick a final score goes, it's very difficult to figure out. But we shall see what happens there. So that's kind of a look at an update on the Orange Bowl. Tickets are still selling well for the Orange Bowl. They're also very expensive. I haven't heard if it's sold out yet. I hadn't even checked the latest point spread. I know when it was announced, Clemson was a 3.5-point favorite. I would say probably now. I'd say Clemson's probably still a favorite if I had to take a guess, but we shall see. And of course, if anybody else opts out, we will definitely keep you posted on Ball Society Live on that. So there we go. All right, so transfer portal. We'll talk about that really quick. Tennessee did pick up a couple of guys in the transfer portal. These are big needs for us, but probably not household name needs. And as far as the transfer portal goes, we want to clarify. A lot of the folks that's in the transfer portal, and there's a bunch of college football players in the transfer portal, just kind of remind you, there's probably going to be some guys that's in the transfer portal that's going to wait until after the season to finally make their decision where they're going to go. And you're also got a lot of folks in the transfer portal that's really in there to see if they can get some NIL bump up money. So we shall see. But I'll here in a moment, I'll tell you who Tennessee's kind of looking at. But as far as players that's already committed to Tennessee, kicker Charles Campbell from Indiana. Kind of looking at his stats, he's very similar to Chase McGrath. Of course, we lose Chase McGrath next year. His numbers are very similar. I think his longest field goal I saw was back in, I think, 2020 or 2021. He kicked a 52-yard field goal. Stats-wise, reminded me a lot of McGrath. So I think he can fit fine in there as long as he, we call on him and he executes, he's fine. I know he hadn't missed an extra point, knock on wood. So hopefully he continues that way. So we welcome Charles Campbell. McAllen Castles, a tight end from UC Davis. Don't know much about him. Of course, we don't get a lot of UC Davis games in Tennessee. But as far as what to kind of expect, I think he's just going to kind of fill the role where Jacob Warren is or Princeton Fant. Do I expect him to get a lot of receptions? I'm not sure. Maybe. I know we're about to talk about Ethan Davis here in a few minutes, but as it's kind of up in the air to see where he's going to kind of fit in there and where these rest of the offense is going to be. Like I said, we're still quite a long ways away from 2023 season. And then Tennessee picked up a JUCO player, Larry Johnson III, offensive lineman, 6'6", 345, played at Hutchinson Community College in Kansas. That's the same community college that both Cordell Patterson and Alvin Kamara both played at. So big shoes to fill for Mr. Larry Johnson III. Hopefully he can live up to that expectation of Cordell and Kamara. But we welcome him along. So that's 3 players from the transfer portal. Actually, JUCO players are technically a recruit, and they count in the 2023 class, but still playing from one team to another. As far as some players Tennessee's looking out for, a new name that's popped up on the radar for Tennessee is Kent State wide receiver Devontae Walker. He is scheduled to visit Knoxville on Saturday. He's 6'3", 195. Last year for Kent State, had 58 catches for 921 yards and 11 touchdowns. So if for those who don't know, Kent State's head coach, I think Sean Elliott's his name, left Kent State to become the new offensive coordinator at Colorado with Deion Sanders. So kind of shocking to see a head coach revert back to an offensive coordinator. Now, granted, you're going from Group of 5 to Power 5, but very interesting move right there, which I guess his move makes more sense than Scott Satterfield leaving Louisville to go to Cincinnati. Anyways, so we'll see what happens there. Tennessee's still high on Ra Thomas from Mississippi State. Now, let me clarify this. Ra Thomas announced his commitment to the transfer portal, announced he's going to the transfer portal before Mike Leach's passing. So just want to clarify that up front. But Ra Thomas, according to his Twitter page, he's got offers from Tennessee, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Georgia, and Florida State. So a lot of programs are going after him. So we'll see where he goes. I think Tennessee seems very interested in him. Guy that I mentioned last week, J.Q. Hardaway, a cornerback from Cincinnati, former 4-star DB. Tennessee's high on him, and I'm glad they are. Obviously, we need secondary help, and I think J.Q. Hardaway, can fit very well. Matter of fact, he was a former Tennessee. Either he committed to Tennessee or he was highly on Tennessee's list when he was still in high school, and then he went to Cincinnati, and now it looks like Tennessee's really pursuing him. Hopefully we can get him. I think he would fit great in that Tennessee secondary. We need some experience. Seems like the last couple of guys that we've had the transfer portal that's I don't want to say has developed well, but has kind of underperformed last year or so. So we'll see what happens. So that's kind of look at the transfer portal. And now we jump into Arian Carter. Arian Carter, linebacker from Smyrna High School in Smyrna, Tennessee, announced he was coming to Tennessee. And now I'm going to be honest. When I heard that Aaron Carter was going to make his announcement, first thing I did was jump on three and looked at the projections of where he was going, and I saw that the crystal ball projections, everything was going to Alabama. I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to put my hopes on him. And then I guess in the kind of the 11th hour, Brian G. Murray, our linebacker coach, Brian G. Murray, and Josh Heupel, and really pursued after Aaron Carter and made him commit to Tennessee today. And I was kind of shocked. I was like, oh my goodness, this is huge. I mean, Aaron Carter's final three schools was Tennessee, Alabama, and Ohio State. I mean, those are Ohio State and Alabama, obviously two big heavyweights. So, and of course, the rumor was that Alabama was trying to make a late visit, and Aaron Carter really didn't want to talk to him. So, big time pickup for the class of 2023. Now, early signing day is next Wednesday. So, like I mentioned last week, expect to see Nico and Shadavian Bradley and Caleb Herring and those guys to go ahead and send their letter of intent in and go ahead and go into bowl practice. I think Nico's already probably sent his in, and I know he's going to participate in bowl practice. Now, is Nico and these guys going to be playing in the Orange Bowl? No, I don't see that happening at all. But it definitely gets them ready to practice on a college football system and gets ready for spring ball coming up, I believe in March. But kind of looking at the rest of the 2023 class, because like I said, I don't see Tennessee really making a strong pursuit at anybody that I'm aware of. But, you look at the defensive help. What really stands out to me about this 2023 class is the defensive help. I mean, starting on the edge with Shadavian Bradley, Caleb Herring, Nathan Robinson, moving over to the defensive line with David Hobbs, kind of a last addition to the 2023 class, along with Tyree Weathersby. Linebackers, Aaron Carter, who committed today, Jalen Smith, Jeremiah T-Lander. And then the secondary, that's the one everybody's really focused on. We want to get some guys from the transfer portal. But you look at kind of what's coming aboard in those cornerbacks and safety positions where Tennessee has struggled the last couple of years. Definitely this year's really stood out. Jordan Matthews, Ricky Gibson, Christian Conner on the corners. Safeties, Jack Luttrell, Sylvester Smith, John Slaughter. And then you got a couple of athletes on this team now. I know Trevor Duncan plays a little bit of secondary Catholic high school, so he might fit into that slot. Cameron Selden still kind of up in the air if he'll play wide receiver, maybe DB, who knows. But help is coming as far as the secondary goes. The main thing is it's just got to get these guys developed and ready to play. And then the rest of the 2023 class offensively, obviously Nico Iamaleava at quarterback, wide receivers Nathan Leacock and Nate Spillman, running backs Khalifa Keith, offensive tackles Shamaron Umarov and Aiden Bussell, and then inside linebackers Vizing Lane or Larry Johnson III, as I already mentioned, and then I think we mentioned the tight end Nathan Davis. So that's your pretty much right now your class of 2023. According to On3 Sports, number 11 class in the nation. 24/7, we are bumped up to number 9 in the nation. So it looks like Tennessee will have a top 10 recruiting class according to 24/7 Sports. So excellent job for Josh Heupel in second year. Basically his second recruiting class, and now we focus on 2024. Like I said, next Wednesday is when the early signing day starts for Tennessee. So like I said, I don't expect a big push for anybody that I'm aware of. But you're going to see a lot of your early enrollees, Nico, and those guys to go ahead and get on campus and stuff like that. And of course, we'll bring you content on that next Wednesday on Vols Society, on our Vols Society Facebook page, because we won't have a show the rest of the year, and I'll get to that pretty soon. All right, so that's kind of look at the recruiting. All right, let's jump into basketball as we kind of wrap up tonight here. Tennessee and Arizona coming up on Saturday night. Before we break down Arizona, let's jump back to Sunday afternoon in Brooklyn, New York, as Tennessee won over the Maryland Terrapins 56-53. Tennessee jumped out big in the first half, led 34-17 at the half. Almost sounds like a football score with Josh Heupel there. But then Maryland came roaring back, scored 36 points in the second half compared to Tennessee's 22, but Tennessee gets the win 56-53. Tennessee goes to 9-1 on the year. Zakai Ziegler, 12 points in that game, 3 assists. Julian Phillips had 10 rebounds in that win. And going into Saturday's contest, Tennessee right now averaging 74 points per game, only giving up 51 points per game in the 10 games they played. Some of your leading scorers, Julian Phillips has been kind of the breakout star so far. As far as just for this basketball team goes, the true freshman averaging 11 points a game. He's actually tied with Santiago Vescovi and Tyree Key, another breakout performer in this Tennessee basketball team, all averaging 11 points per game. As far as the three-point, and Tyree Key is leading the team in three-pointers at 38% behind the arc. Olivier Comlois, 33%. And Tennessee's doing this without Josiah Jordan-James. And for those who don't know, Triple J has missed 5 games so far this year with knee soreness. For those who may or may not know, he had a scope operation during the offseason, scoped out his left knee, and he's had 3 injections in his knee since October, just trying to get that knee healthy. He's just been in and out of the lineup. When he has played, he's done fairly well, like we expect him to, but just not have him in the lineup, kind of hurts some of, his productivity for the most part. But Tennessee's kind of hanging on there. Like I said, we talked about the Battle of Atlantis where Tennessee won it, and now they won this game over Maryland, and now arguably our biggest game of the year coming up Saturday as we take on Arizona. Arizona, same record as Tennessee, 9-1 on the year. Their only loss came on December the 1st, where they lost their Pac-12 opener to Utah, 81-66. Kind of a surprising score there. Arizona, the number 1 scoring team in college basketball this year, averaging 92 points a game. They are number 2 in the country in assists with 21.5. They shoot 54% from the field, 39% from downtown. This is an offensive team that we're facing. Like I said, Tennessee faced this team last year in Knoxville, where the Vols won 77-73. I believe it's on December the 22nd in Knoxville. This is going to, and of course, this game on Saturday is going to be a late tip-off for us, 10:30 Eastern Time tip-off on ESPN2. Obviously, being in Arizona, it's only 7:30 there. At least I will say this about these late games. At least it happened on a Saturday and not a Wednesday night. So I can manage to stay up on a 10:30 on a Saturday night than maybe on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. Kind of brings me back to when I used to work second shift and watched a lot of Gonzaga and Pepperdine games, but that's another story for another day. But yeah, so gonna be a late game, so get the coffee ready, get the caffeine going. Tennessee and Arizona, and we had a great slate of college basketball coming up on Saturday. Besides this game, but looking at some individual players is getting off on a different tirade there. And I'm going to butcher this name, so I'm just going to say the last name. Tubulis from Arizona, averaging 20.2 points a game, 8 rebounds a game. Ballo from Arizona's got 9 rebounds. He leads the way. Kerr Krista, 6 and 9, or 6, almost 7 assists per game, 6.9 to be exact. Like I said, remember, number 2 assist team in college basketball. I think what Tennessee needs to do, for the most part, is just play like they did last year in Knoxville. Like I said, Tennessee's averaging 74 points a game, only giving up 51. Now, I don't see Tennessee surrendering only 51 to Arizona. I think Arizona's going to put more than 51. But I think if Tennessee plays a similar game like they did last year in the mid-70s, high 70s, I think Tennessee's got a shot. Granted, you are playing on the road. It's going to be a hostile environment. But I think Tennessee, what they need to do is just find a way to play great defense like they've had all year. If they can get Arizona under 50, that'd be fantastic. But, all for the most part, I think Tennessee just kind of like what they did last year, get into the 70s and, you know, maybe they can pull out a win at Arizona. Like I said, this is a very dangerous Arizona team, a favorite to win the national championship with their offensive scoring power. Uh, Definitely the favorite to win the Pac-12. So big game coming up on Saturday. The Vols and the Wildcats. A late game, 10:30 Eastern time. Thankfully, it's on a Saturday, not a Wednesday, as I mentioned. Um, so yeah, big game coming up. One quick note I forgot to mention on the rundown tonight. Tamaria Key, Lady Vol, we want to send her thoughts and prayers out. And suffered some blood clots in her lungs, out for the year. So tough break for Kelly Harper and this Lady Vol team, but we wish her the best as she goes through her treatments of uh, curing this. Tough blow for the Lady Vols as far as leadership goes, but I know this team's going to rally around her in her absence, and hopefully this team will play very well for her. So, want to give our shout out and thoughts and prayers out to Mary Key. That's really all we got tonight for Vol Society Live. I think we covered everything that I'm aware of. So this is our final show for 2022 for Vol Society Live. We're going to take a couple weeks off with the holidays coming up. We got a lot of our Vol family traveling throughout the wherever they travel to go see their family and friends and stuff like that. So going to go ahead and say to everyone, we wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Enjoy this time. Like I said, I always say this about every holiday. Spread love out there. Love everyone out there. Be kind to everyone. And I know this is a difficult time for a lot of people dealing with lost ones and, loved ones that's no longer with them. And it's definitely a tough time for a lot of people. So if you can grieve with them, and spread some love out there to them. And take care of each other. Enjoy the holidays. And we'll see you back for Vol Society Live in the year 2023. We'll find out how Tennessee did in the Orange Bowl against Clemson. We'll be ramped up into SEC play coming up in January. Obviously, Tennessee will have an SEC conference game right before, matter of fact, right before the Orange Bowl when we take on Ole Miss. So enjoy the holidays, enjoy Christmas and New Year's. Take care of each other, be kind to everyone. And we'll catch you all back right here on Vol Society Live in 2023. Please make sure you're following along on our social media pages, facebook.com/UT Society, youtube.com/Vol Society, and on Twitter at Society Vol. Until next time, this has been David Morrison for Vol Society Live. Have a great night. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and go Vols.